not FOMO in, not throw money into these coins that I'm going to talk about in this video, which I will mention some coins that I am looking at if these situations occur. The point of this video is watch for these things, because this opportunity is here like it has been many, many, many times before in crypto. If you look at when we had our big downturns, when things were at their lowest, it is hitting this type of behavior again. And if we can just watch it and be ready for it and keep a close eye on it, you have potential to really, truly do 50 to 100x gains. A lot of people have done it before. It is going to happen again. And I know why you're watching this video, so I'm gonna get straight to the point. You are a piece of shit. You are a degenerate who doesn't care about the tech. You don't care about the metaverse. You're not here for freedom money. You just want to scheme your way in and make these sweet, juicy gains so you don't have to work anymore, and you can be that drunk guy at the bar waving his phone around, showing off all of his newly obtained wealth while still maintaining the same absolute lack of maturity. Look, I'm a piece of shit too, just like you. I laugh at poop jokes despite being a millionaire. In fact, just last week out of boredom in Neo Tokyo, we had 5,000 people play crab games for $1 million. It was the debacle, but it was funny. And so as being the ultimate piece of shit, I really want to show you where I, as a piece of shit, am looking at in the market right now. Because last time the market made a downturn, I made an unfathomable amount of money by trading the downturn and coming back up. And right now we're in a very unstable point right now that reminds me a lot of that. And in fact, we could be heading much, much lower, which is going to take us in a place where the real gains are made. And that's what I'm going to lay out in this video. Now, that being said, if you want to see particular coin picks, faster updates in these videos, I don't always have time to make them, follow me at ZSS Becker, because that's where I talk about the smaller projects, things I'm doing, and how you can actually get access to a lot of projects I'm working on a lot faster, because I don't have time to post it on YouTube. So let's talk about this. So first thing, guys, I know what you're thinking. Alex, where are the jokes at? We don't have time for jokes today. I got to be mature. I got to be serious. And so I'm going to be very straight-faced and very adult-like in this video. We don't have time to make fun of Cardano holders who are down 66%. In fact, there's no point, because we all know they're not even allowed on the internet right now. They live with their girlfriend's boyfriend. And frankly, at this point, with the amount of money they lost, they're not even allowed to use the internet or Wi-Fi in the house anymore. So we're not going to pick on them right now, because frankly, they can't even get online. Let's leave them be. Let's not point out the fact that USDC coin is vastly outperforming them as a stable coin at this point. Let's move on to some serious matters and be very mature here, because as we know, this is the most mature woke channel on the entire crypto universe. It's very PG. Get your kids in the room. Have you gotten your fill of jokes? Good. Let's go on to this. So first and foremost, guys, this is not financial advice. And I'm going to double down that because you guys never listen to me anyways. Last video I said we need to watch for a Bitcoin reset. We have not seen that. Okay. So if you're looking for ways to cash in quickly, make money quickly, we're not really seeing it. And my advice from the last video still stays true. And if you're looking for coin picks and things that you should be getting into, the things I talked about last video, I still stand by when we see a Bitcoin reset. I'm going to talk about a few projects I'm looking at in this video and the bigger play moves depending on what we see the market do. But it's very, very, very much a wait and see kind of game right now. You can look at the last month of what's been going on. Bitcoin's obviously going down, and a lot of people are trying to time the bottom right here. So 40,000 was the bottom. 33,000 was the bottom. I personally don't think we're going to see, we're either going to see 29K for a second, but I don't think we're going to see it. You know, I think 30 to 33K is the bottom right here. But again, it's so damn hard to call these bottoms. It's virtually impossible to do. Everybody acts like they can call Bitcoin. Nobody ever calls Bitcoin. So we really don't need to be trying to do that right now. We just need to be waiting. And like I pointed out last video, when Bitcoin does reset, if we go look at this huge pump right here, okay, this ends around August, and then we go look at similar coins in the metaverse, which is what we trade. We trade a lot of microcap, smaller gaming coins. If we go look at something like CeDeFi right here, you can see this major pump on the microcap coins really started shortly after Bitcoin made its big reset move. Okay, almost about a week. All right, you can see right here, here's where Bitcoin made its move. You can see a little pump right here. And then we start making the big moves as the market gets really confident. So just like last video, the short-term move is to wait for the Bitcoin reset. Sure, we're going to miss out on this little bump right here, probably. But after the thing resets, what you do is you get in right here. If Bitcoin starts going back down, you trade right out of it. You lose 10%, whatever. Okay, that's a fair risk to reward in return for this happening. Okay, so that's the move we talked about last video. That's what we're going to do. But I want to talk about something more that's happening right now. If you look at all the people that made tons of money in crypto, let's look at the pattern. This is where the opportunity comes from, in my opinion. Okay, if you look at all the people that may have made tons of money, where they were buying at was in these periods right here when everything was doing really poorly. Where they made money at is in these lull periods right here. Everybody that's made a lot of money, they're buying these points. Duh, Alex, people buy low. I'm very, very aware of this. The other people that made a ton of money are when they started buying micro caps and smaller caps right here. Okay, and I'm using Bitcoin as a larger picture kind of coin. I don't buy Bitcoin. But if you were buying in these periods right here, that's the people that made 20, 50Xs. And so the only real way to make 20, 50Xs in the market is not by trying to play these pumps right here. This is when my viewership goes to the roof. This is when everybody starts getting nuts. This is when everybody starts investing. We all know this. And so when you really need to be looking for, if you really want to achieve those 20, 50Xs and life-changing gains, you need to be willing to play these areas right here. Now, this doesn't involve calling the bottom. That's what a lot of people think. Like, for example, in March happened. Sure, that was the best time to buy right then. Yeah, 100%. But really, if you had been buying any of the altcoins, DOT, literally anything, Cardano even, DOT, FTM, BNB, anything in this range right here, you made much higher returns than if you bought Bitcoin right here. So we don't have to call the bottoms of Bitcoin. We just have to watch it. And so what we need to be doing at this time right here is thinking, all right, how can we get in here and how can we get these type of gains right here? How can we go out there and really make those 50, 100Xs where we don't even have to put that much in? You put 10,000 down on 100X to 50X, you're up a significant amount at minimal risk. I know not everybody has $10,000. I'm aware of that. I'm just saying whatever a minimal amount of money is to you. That could be as low as $100 for some people. I'm sure a lot of people, if $100 is a lot of money to you, making $5,000 from $100, pretty damn juicy. So in order to do that, all right, how can we do that? How can we actually make money from this? How can we get those 50, 100Xs? And that's almost exclusively what I'm focused on this video, because the lower we get, the more eager and more open I am to those actual returns. Because in my opinion, there is 100% on the table chances to make 50 to 100Xs coming up here in the future. Okay, so let's talk about why that's going to happen. And then we'll talk about what it's going to look like and the signs we should be looking at. So if we go look at anything right here, particularly in the gaming crypto arena right here, none of it's doing very well right now. Of course. Okay? We need to be, again, willing to trade these tops. And I'm going to have a video talking about trading tops and the mistake that most people make holding coming up here soon. So we're not looking at this from a hodler perspective. I'm mostly out of the market right now and have been since I posted about it on YouTube in November. That being said, what is the narrative that is coming right now? Companies like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, heck, Facebook even changed their name to Meta because of this. Every major player in the world is getting into metaverse. That's not even an understatement. Every major player. I can't think of a big company that is not getting in on this crap right now when it comes to NFTs and metaverse. Every celebrity is getting in on it. Everybody's getting into it, but the market is down. The market is way down. Why is the market down right now? It's because of the rate hikes, the fear of inflation, Biden regulating Bitcoin. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of things suppressing this dot-com boom that is going to happen. Even if the market goes down completely, this dot-com boom is going to happen. It's just a matter of us calling and hopping in when the market hits its near bottom and watching for the signs that it's reset. And so knowing this right here, the market cap of gaming crypto right now is $21 billion. And most of these coins right here, I don't think will be around in the future. If you've seen Decentraland, I don't really think that has the brightest future. If you see Sandbox, I don't really know. If you see Axie, it's sustained by more players joining. I don't know if it's sustainable. I just don't think it is. And so a lot of this market cap that makes up a lot of it, almost 10 billion of it right here, is almost, it's going to be replaced. And so we're really looking at like the earliest form of metaverse forming right here. This isn't what it's going to look like in 5 years. Not even a shot. The largest coin is going to be probably something $20-50 billion. All right, the largest coin will be larger than the entire market cap right now. Very similar when Bitcoin and DeFi was starting up. And so to say that there are not 50, 100x gains on the table, that's just preposterous. It's just goofy. So we need to think about it for a second. What do we need to do right here? What do we need to be planning for? So if we're talking about short-term gains, again, it's a wait and see what Bitcoin is going to do. All right, the first scenario, if we're talking about short-term gains, and again, if you want coin ideas, go look at my last videos. Again, I am demanding that you go watch my microcap trading video because a lot of people don't know how to trade microcaps, and they are looking at it completely wrong. And unless you watch that video, you have no business even touching microcaps. So if you go look at Bitcoin right here, the first short-term move we're going to do is we really need to look for this type of reset right here. What is the reset? I would say a good almost 20-15% bounce right here. Hey, we're not seeing that. All right, we keep seeing these little things right here. you could have safely started buying metaverse coins and gaming coins at this point right here. And look, say this bounce right here didn't come through. These gaming coins are only go down another 10-20%. Yes, that sucks. Okay, but we're using minimal money right here. So let's say you put in $100, it goes to $80. Crap. For me, I put in $10,000, $30,000 right here. Okay, worst case scenario, I'm going down to $20,000. I'm not going to hodl this stuff all the way down. All right, I'm looking for a clean reset, and I'm willing to take a little bit of suffering before it happens right here. That's the strategy. That's all we're going to do. And that's the most short-term situation right here. Now, I don't really see this happening, in my opinion. Okay, in the next few months, maybe. But the thing is, Bitcoin will always surprise you. And so if you're a person right now that's not really used to these markets, I was really bearish right here. And I really didn't see any reason for Bitcoin to keep going up other than the ETF that came out. Well, that did blow it up. Okay, so there's no reason Bitcoin can't do this, but it's so hard to watch. It's so hard to call. You just basically have to wait. You can see all the TA traders. You can see all the people doing. Until I see something like this, I'm really not going to be taking many big moves. That's it. And so short term, we want to look for that. We want to look for a nice 15-20% pump, standard large movement up here. You're probably going to see a bit of a dump after right here, and then we're going to see the actual rise up. Now, why is this really dangerous to speculate on? We have the Fed increasing rates. We have the stock market doing terrible. We have the dollar actually doing pretty strong right now. The reason why I don't think this is going to happen is every market condition is just not good for speculation coins right here. And so we need to be careful. We need to watch this. This could super reverse here in February. So we just really need to keep an eye. When the market is doing this is when most people leave. They get bored. They go do something else. They change their mind. But right now we're also seeing the same NFT boom happening right here that we saw happening right here. People take those profits, they roll them around, and so you just got to watch this like a hawk. That's the only thing you can do. So what's the bigger narrative that could happen right here? Where are we going to get these 100Xs from? So the market could go really damp here for a bit. It could also go a lot lower, down to 20,000, 29,000. It really doesn't matter because we're not trying to sit and hold the market right now. If you're doing that, I'm obviously trading differently than you. You can do whatever you want. I don't have time to make fun of you in this video. I don't like losing lots of money. I like exiting up here, and I like playing this game down here. That's what I like to do. And I like taking this money and I like putting it in passive income assets. That's my strategy. And I'll make a video on that here next week or something like that. Enter somewhere around here, make a large amount of money, put it in assets that make me a 5 to 8% APY each year. Just keep stacking that passive income. Then gamble with that passive income. That's what I do. That's it. What's the bearish outlook right here? We could see rates when they come up really smash the stock market. We are in an everything bubble right now. Everything's price is way too high. Stocks are way too high. As a result, crypto will get smashed. Okay? And so all we need to do is we really just need to wait then for something like this, another clean reset from Bitcoin. But I don't really think it's going to play out that obvious. And I think Bitcoin's going to lose a lot of its power. So I want to go over a few scenarios that I'm looking for. Because guaranteed 110%. I cannot fathom this not happening. There is going to be a massive metaverse run. With every company in the world getting into this, there is going to be every metaverse coin blowing up. Crap coin, good company, it doesn't matter. We're going to see these 50, 100Xs come right back, 10Xs quite easily. It is going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So what do we want to look for? The first and foremost, just a clean Bitcoin reset. Just a big Bitcoin can keep going lower. We'll just sit and watch. Okay? And when Bitcoin starts to get down here, say we see a really bad bear market down to like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. At that point, just take your bets. Just take your bets, because every gaming coin that's even decent will be at terrible prices. So you can really just pick the consistent ones. Okay, so if we go and look at the gaming coins right now, you could just literally get in with Engine, Gala, Ultra, Cetify, those type of things that aren't really based around a single game. And when I'm trading these gaming crypto coins, I don't want something that's based around a game, because games come and go. All right, I want something that's based as more infrastructure. Gala's constantly pumping out games. Ultra, Cetify is closely tied to launches and controlling of entry of seed money. Veracity, a really good one right here. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Right? I'm going to be looking for the infrastructure of the metaverse, because those will probably be around, and if there is a big pump, those are still going to catch that pump. And so we wait for a reset, or we wait for a hard bear, and then we just enter in the hard bear, because I don't know if Bitcoin will come back from a hard bear. I just truly don't. I don't see any reason why the world has to have Bitcoin. I don't see why the world is all going to move to Bitcoin. I just don't. It's not something Facebook is interested in. It's not something all these other companies are in. They're interested in metaverse. They completely skip Bitcoin while entering crypto. I'm sorry that might upset a lot of people, but the people that upsets, I've seen what makes you happy, and I do not want to be on the side of that because that's nonsense. So if we go into a hard bear, I know metaverse is coming back. There's no reason it can't. There's absolutely no reason it won't. So what else do we want to start looking for? So what could really also reset this market is I think companies are going to start buying Ethereum. I don't really like Ethereum. I think it's garbage, but ETH 2.0 could do something great. And what they're going to start buying is they're going to start buying the layer ones because they just have a much stronger reason to be bought up than Bitcoin. And so what we could see is these top layer ones really start to make a run. I think it's going to be Ethereum. I really see Tesla, bigger companies like Facebook, etc., really start land grabbing Ethereum. I don't really see why they would land grab Bitcoin. I could see totally why they would land grab Ethereum. So what I will also be looking for, hardcore, is Ethereum going and making a hard reset. And then when Bitcoin is really down, let's say Bitcoin drops to, I don't know, 500 billion right here. Ethereum drops to 200. At that point, it's really not that hard for $300 billion in market cap to hit Ethereum. Okay, again, in actual money coming in, it's nowhere near $300 billion. It could be pumped up very quickly and then suddenly make a real fast run and just flip Bitcoin. If Tesla does that while Bitcoin is going down, if some major company does that while Bitcoin is going down, Ethereum's going to skyrocket and quickly flip Bitcoin. And what that is going to trigger, in my opinion, is altcoin insanity. Why? Because the entire market has been completely strangleholded by Bitcoin for a long time. And the problem with Bitcoin is the fact that you can't make a lot of money in it anymore. So retail's not really that interested in it. It doesn't store money very well. So institutions really aren't interested in it as a safe investment. And it can't be used for anything, and it doesn't give you power over anything else like Ethereum or layer ones do. So it's just, at this point, it's really hard to keep the market going around Bitcoin because retail's not into it, institutions aren't into it, and if those two aren't into it, countries aren't into it. Once that stranglehold is gone, everyone's going to go nuts. Everyone's going to go nuts. And where are they going to go nuts at? It is going to be the metaverse, because every single company on planet Earth, one will be buying up Ethereum because it gives them control in the metaverse to a certain extent, even though I don't think the metaverse will be built on Ethereum. But it gives them perceived control. That's what they think it's going to do. And then we are going to see the metaverse boom. And so I think that's how it could also happen as well. So I'm going to be watching for that Bitcoin reset, but I'm really watching for an Ethereum, or we could see this in some other layer ones. We could see this in some other layer ones coming in through here. I'm not sure which ones it would be, but I think Ethereum is where we're going to see it at. I see. And what will start off as an Ethereum flipping Bitcoin situation. So at that point, what do we want to do? How do we make these 100Xs? If you go back and look at Bitcoin right here, how did people make 100Xs? How did people make 10, 20, $50 million this bull run? How did they do it? They were holding on and they started buying the things that nobody really knew about right here. All right. This is going to be, let's go look at a few of them. Let's look at Luna. All right. No, but when I first got into crypto right here, 2021, 2020, I had no idea what Luna was. You know, people that were in crypto right here, if you just bought anywhere, like around here, you made a killing. It's the same thing with metaverse coins right here. Nobody knew, very few people knew what DOT was when Bitcoin started making its initial run up. Okay, we go back to March 2020. Absolutely no one. You had so much time. You had so much time to start getting into these. Go look. I mean, you can even look at Cardano. We can look at BNB. That the story's the same way all over again. So if we see a deep bear, you should be excited because this is your chance to get really, really rich. And the thing I want to stress is that everybody that has made a lot of money in crypto, they lost their money in the first crash. And they waited around and they made their money in this one. You usually make all your money in your second bull run. Okay? I made the most money I've ever made from my second bull run right here. I'm not sure this is, maybe this is the same bull run, but I made most of my money right here in this time period. Okay, I did well right here, lost half of it.
Ära siis kihuta praegu, ära kihuta.
So you need to be really excited if you're kind of down right now, or you're like, crap, I didn't play this bull run. Exactly. People make all their money on their second bull run. They don't usually make it on their first one. So specific plays, what would I be looking at? So if we go and look at this, again, you can go and trade DeFi. You can go and trade those things. I don't really get DeFi. I understand games. I understand game marketing. I understand the tokenomics behind them. I understand NFTs. So that's where I'm gonna apply my knowledge, because I can find things that other people wouldn't be aware of, like Luna, for example. Most people have no clue what Luna was. I didn't know what Luna was. I didn't know what DOT was when Bitcoin started pumping. All right, that gives you such a huge advantage if you're just in the know. So when Metaverse starts pumping, I don't know which one of these coins is going to explode. I gave you kind of the safer ones because the narratives around the infrastructure coins will work. We could see easily, you know, any of the gaming coins in particular, like we could see something replace Sandbox, Decentraland, Axie, no problem. All right, they could just lose momentum. Nobody likes them. Nobody plays them. So what we want to do instead is, when we start seeing these lows happen, we want to look at the games that have players. You know, the games that are getting more in demand. We want to look at the platforms that are getting adoption and have the partnerships. We want to look at the games that are running quality shops that are based around actual demand. We want to look for the coins that are in demand actually to be used in games and be able to use in the ecosystems, be able to use or be used on the platforms. We want to look at the things people are actively using. And we want to look at the teams behind them and what they built in the past, because we're going to see some very, very powerful teams, really great developers, really great smart people. They're all going to be getting in the metaverse. And so I think things based around wearables, VR, that is going to be so huge. VR locations, that's going to be massive. The NFTs that control those locations, the NFTs that control the advertising in those locations, the actual business model of Metaverse, that's what you want to be looking at. Games themselves are going to pump super hard, but it's super hard to call them right now because a lot of these games won't be around. It's the same thing with gaming in the real world. Most games, they have their peaks for 1 year, then nobody plays them anymore. There's so many great games. For example, I've been playing Bloodborne right now. Nobody plays Bloodborne anymore, and that came out not even that long ago. We're going to see the same thing with crypto games. So it's really hard to play off of those. Look for the stuff that's injected in the business model. Watch it very closely. Like VRA is a really good example, in my opinion. Not the FOMO into right now, but when game streaming, the centralized game streaming becomes a thing, Metaverse streaming becomes a thing, that's going to be so huge because people are going to spend so much of their time there. Veracity or something like it is going to go absolutely nuclear. Okay? And so that's my overall take on the market right now, guys. There's really nothing to do as far as it plays right now. The best thing we can do, if we're smart, is we just wait for a Bitcoin reset. There's no reason to be forcing anything right now, especially with all the uncertainty with the feds. This is not like the crash we saw in March, which was related to we all know the thing that makes us governments lock us in our house. This is not that. We're looking at some really strong factors that could push down all assets, not just crypto, and that's terrible for speculation. What we want to do is we want to have that short-term and long-term game plan of how we can get into this. And we really just want to watch it and not leave. The most important thing when markets are down like this is you don't leave. You just watch very, 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 very closely. You do not want to lose interest right now. You want to lose interest when everything's all peaked out, when everybody's going nuts and everyone's acting stupid. That's when it's cool to lose interest, you know, because the gains have been seen. Right now, the gains are loading up. It's like this little bomb that's building up, and you just need to watch it like a hawk. That's all I have to say for right now, guys. If you want to see the projects I'm getting into when these things start to happen, the moves I'm making at CSS Back, because I can't make these videos every damn day. I can tweet like a 10-year-old as much as I want. You guys know I do that. I'm sorry for being so annoying. That being said, guys, I'll catch you next video.
Thank you, man.
Welcome to the VIP Developer Roundtable, where I, your host, Ben Kilson-Walters, ask our developers the big questions from the VIP community. Visit pantheonmmo.com/pledge to ask yours. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, welcome everybody. It is that time of the month again, and I have another 2 Visionary Realms legends with me today. I have creative director and programming producer Chris Jopper Perkins and lead programmer Kyle E.G. Olsen. Welcome, fellas.
Hey. Hey.
I thought I was going to mispronounce that E.G. First time I've had to say it, so I actually thought it was going to laugh.
E.G.
Yeah, that's it.
Easy peasy.
I-I-J-J-I-E-G. Easy.
Go,
Okay, so good to get this kicked off with a couple of fantastic questions. We've got a lot here, but the first couple are going to be a bit of fun. So why don't you start us off, Chris? What is the first thing you plan on doing once the network stack is in that you cannot do now?
I think first thing right off the bat is we stress test it as much as possible with our pre-alpha testers. We want to put it through its paces and really just, go full throttle, see how much of a beast it actually is. Really excited to see that actually. But then quickly we'll move into PET implementation. That'll be really first thing right off the bat, because that's going to allow us to finish off our full roster of classes.
Amazing. I know those words pre-alpha test were ears pinged up then. A lot of people interested. Get everybody back involved again to get their help. That'd be great. Do you have anything to add, Kyle?
Oh yeah. So in supporting of the PET work, I'm really looking forward to rebuilding our navigation system, because now we've got the tile-based streaming, and the old navigation was sort of built with the idea of zones sort of at its core, right? Where you bake an entire zone's nav mesh into one giant blob, and we load that up, and everything navs on that for the zone. But we need to be a bit more flexible in that now, where we need to be able to stream in chunks of nav mesh and stitch them together and that kind of stuff. And it gives us the opportunity to revisit that while also massively optimizing it for larger scales, which is somewhat necessary at this point.
Yeah, great. Does the network stuff that you're working on and the issue with Unity that you said you ran into a few months ago, does that have anything to do with Unity's new data-orientated technology stack?
So not so much an issue we ran into, but the reason that we've been iterating more on the network library at its core is because of parts of DOTS, the data-oriented technology stack. We're using the job system and burst compiler, which are parts of that system, that group of technologies that Unity calls DOTS. We're using subsets of that, but we're not leveraging things like their entity component system or anything like that. We're still using what might be called the old school game object approach to Unity, which is much more robust and fleshed out and not in a sort of alpha state in the engine at this point. So we're using the parts of DOTS that are production ready, basically, as according to Unity themselves.
Yeah, nice. So how far along are you guys, and how much longer until the network stack is integrated?
The library itself is fairly mature at this point. What we haven't got into yet is integrating, like marrying Pantheon with the networking technology yet. We're holding off on that integration until HDRP client is more stable and we can resume tests on that client, right? Get feedback on all of the changes that have happened in the last 3 or 4 months, all of the iteration on combat, the NPC updates, all of that kind of stuff. We can get feedback on while I go and work on the actual integration and marrying of the two techs.
Kyle, I think it would be good to talk here a little bit about just for those who aren't as clear on what that means, what you just said. The networking library, differentiating calling out the difference between the work that has been done, that you've been doing, that you still continue to do on the network library, and the difference between that and the actual integration of the whole networking stack with the game. Because I don't want it to sound like, networking is just like completely on hold, because I know you've been working on it like almost every weekend for the last while.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that network library is a big part of the overall process of the networking overhaul. So I think it would just be helpful to highlight that work and kind of differentiating that from the actual act of integrating it with the project, which is still forthcoming.
Yeah. So how do we start with that? So Pantheon has a bunch of features necessary in an underlying network stack that need to exist in order for it to scale to the amount of players that we want to hit. And we also have desires as developers, when we're working on Pantheon, to have a decent day-to-day what would you call it? Working in the code needs to be somewhat okay. It can't be horrible day to day as a developer to implement a single network message. It has to be usable, right, as a developer. And iterating on both the performance, the usability, the scalability of the library itself doesn't have specific ties to Pantheon as a game.
Yes.
The networking is fully decoupled from what Pantheon is and can be used in other video games. So like we mentioned, we've licensed it out to other companies already. That means that the library itself is a piece of technology that can be iterated on independently from Pantheon. And we need to get the library up to a specific point before we start integrating it into Pantheon itself, so that all of the features that Pantheon requires are there. Because Pantheon has a networking stack right now, it just doesn't scale properly, or it doesn't have the correct usability that we want out of it. If that makes sense?
For our specific needs.
For our needs, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great explanation, mate. So moving on, what are your thoughts on test-driven development?
I think that it's a relic of the past. I specifically don't think that it has a place in video game development in terms of gameplay development. I think that it has its place, but it's not anywhere close to video games. That being said, unit testing and testing in general, like if you don't test your software, I guarantee it's not going to work. It's just, that's a fact. So whether it's human testing in video games, very important, or specific parts of your game that you can write unit tests for. So like our network library, for example, has over 90% test coverage already. So 90% of the lines that comprise our network library are covered by tests of some sort. And that's fairly good. So whenever I make an iteration or a change to the network library, we can run that test suite and make sure that there aren't any regressions. Specific parts of video games, very testable. When I worked on the refactor of our combat system initially, that was driven by a test suite to make sure things like hit rating or mischance or dodge or block, the outputs, the outcomes of like thousands of iterations of combat cycles actually matched what we thought should happen. Like if I have 20% chance to block after 1,000 combat cycles, did I actually block 20% of the time? That's where testing in games makes more sense in my mind. And what I hear echoed a lot in the community, specifically like test-driven development, I don't think should be a thing in video games. Personal opinion. I probably made a lot of people mad with that, but my opinion.
No, that's okay, man. That was well described too. At least it gives people an understanding of where we're coming from. But no, well said.
29
a nice quick one. We've mentioned this before, but just so that we can get it out there again. You talked about the vegetation system in the dev stream. So will grass and small tree branches respond to you similar to the grass like lay down system that was shown in the old Making of a City video?
Yeah, it does it now. So the foliage in the HDRP project will respond to players running through it as it stands. Grass bends over, you can push branches around.
I can confirm that. I've done a lot of branch bending and grass laying downing recently. So yeah, it's in working.
Good stuff. Yeah,
that's the thing.
We hired a test, a grass tester that runs around and just bends things, and it's working really well. All right, so when will you guys be ready to increase the testing cycles of pre-alpha? And is there a particular system or set of systems that needs to be in place or are more internal resources needed before ramping up testing?
So the list is getting pretty short now. We've got a few critical design bugs remaining, which is our very next immediate priority development-wise to get those shored up, and it's a short list. Then next we have to get our new water and day-night system in place. And then the next third piece is converting our visual effects to the HDRP shaders. Once those three
things.
Spells, exactly. Yeah. So any particle effects, spells, things like that. Once those three things are complete and we finish our cycles of internal testing to hammer out the kinks and the evolved combat system, for example, that we've been working on, and just kind of, do that internal smoke testing to make sure that there's, nothing catastrophic that is going to happen to deploy. Then we're ready to start scheduling our PA cycles for 2022. So just to repeat that again, we're the short list of things remaining. We have a couple of critical design bugs we need to get fixed. We need to integrate our new water and day-night systems, and then convert our particle systems visual effects into the new HDRP shaders. And then once we finish our internal smoke testing, which will be ongoing during that time, then we'll start scheduling those PA sessions. So I could have said soon, and I will say soon, but that's kind of the actual granular detail of what we're working on leading up to that point.
That's much appreciated. Do you have anything to add to that, Kyle?
No, not really. I think he can cover that way better than I can.
Okay, great. Well, I've got another question, which is, I'm not really sure what the first part is, but I'll answer it. I'll ask it anyway. Will Pantheon have shafted or meshed servers?
Yeah, I'm not sure what a shafted server is, honestly. So I do know what a mesh server is, and we very closely resemble a mesh topology for sure, with managing nodes and interconnected zone servers. Yeah, I don't know much about what he's asking.
No, good stuff. Sorry, I was doing a quick Google. I still can't find it. All right, so moving on. This is a 3-part question around our networking stack. So our networking stack vinyl is available for licensing. 3 questions. What is the 30-second elevator pitch for it?
Okay, so...
and I'm timing. You bet on timing. No pressure.
It's specifically a UDP socket library with a focus on performance in Unity's game engine. So it's not meant to be used outside of Unity in Unreal or in a .NET application. It's specifically built with Unity in mind, meaning that we can leverage lots of their internal features, namely Burst Compiler, we talked about so much, the job system, things like addressables, other packages and features in Unity that they ship, we want to be able to leverage, meaning we built a specific socket library for the engine, which in and of itself, there aren't that many of. Most people want to build a nice, generic, reusable thing that can be used everywhere. Not us. We have very specific performance targets that we're trying to hit in our game engine. That was the main driving force behind it. Just featureless, we have lots of code generation features for simple serialization and deserialization. So turning data into bytes that can be sent over the network, and then receiving those bytes and turning that back into a representation of the data. We have code generation that will help with that. Things like network aware objects, so you can send a message to a specific thing and not to just everybody connected. Little interest management helpers, basically, assistants in Unity itself that makes it easier to develop video games in the engine. That's sort of the driving force behind it.
Yeah, that's great. So who do we view as our competitors for the stack, and who do we see as our competitive advantages over them, if any?
Unity's been developing a new network library for a couple of years now. It's been slow, and the feature list that they're going for is quite small. So they're building what's called a transport, which is just the part of a network library that sends and receives the bytes. The features that we build on top of that, like the code generation and jobification, interest management. So things like in Valorant, when you can't see an enemy, they don't send network updates to you. You can't wall hack in Valorant generally and see everyone on the map. And the reason that is they have a way of plugging in occlusion culling, so the ability to cull objects that you can't see into the network stack. And things like that, having extendability in the network library to plug in custom data that might be only needed for a specific game, are what we're focusing on. Developer features to make building the actual game easier. That's what the library focuses on.
That's a great explanation. Good reference to Valorant too. how will ongoing vinyl commercial development and license support impact Pantheon programmer time and resource allocations?
So the library isn't mass available. Like, we don't offer cheap licensing for like indies and stuff. It's only been licensed out to a couple studios that we can manage the necessary support that we give. That being said, we haven't really given much of any besides, you know, how do you set up the library or how do you send a network message or things like that, because we haven't written tons of documentation for it because the library is fairly it's fluid. It's in development still, right? So that's about all the support that we've had to give so far. And I don't foresee us expanding hugely upon that. It's not going to be a library available for the masses for the foreseeable future, at least that I know of.
So it's not going to take away from dev time from the game, and it's pretty, you know, self-explanatory. It's just the odd question of how does this work or what does it do, and then you guys are
exactly.
Yeah, cool. So do we have any sort of connection speed or ping targets in mind for Pantheon being playable on player clients?
The game should feel pretty good even at 200 or 300 ping, just due to the fact that, you know, if you're mashing on your hotkey and your spell is still casting, we're listening for those hotkey mashes and trying to assume that that's the spell that you want to cast next, and doing a sort of behind the scenes queue up of the ability just to hide some of that latency and stuff for you. But if you're playing a melee class and, you know, you're not casting a lot, you're moving around and spamming buttons, lower ping is going to feel a lot better. So that's all you can really say about that. It should be playable still on 200 or 300 ping, but you're going to want it to be as low as possible just for a better experience.
Yeah. I can tell you, as an Australian rogue playing on typically US servers, I feel that pain. 300 ping trying to raid at a high level can be tough.
Yeah, it's doable. I mean, Rob and I had tested on the newer library, specifically one of the demo scenes, which had, I think it was 180,000 moving objects, and we had 185 ping, I want to say, to Sydney, where it was hosted, wow. And it worked great. Yeah, we looked smooth good to each other, and yeah, interest management held up. It was good.
Nice. So after networking is finished, what do we envision as the most challenging thing in Pantheon to implement from a Kyle programming perspective? And how about a few more dev drop-up programming perspective?
Do you want to go first, CP?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll follow up. For me, it's going to be iterating on boss design tools, just because it's not something that can be waterfalled up front at all. It's going to take iteration from design back to programming to design to programming, back and forth quite a bit to nail down what we really want. So that's always challenging when you can't just heads down and work on something. But I think we're over the hump. I mean, after networking, in terms of raw programming that needs to be done, a lot of the big stuff is behind us at that point.
The encounter design tools, especially for things like the more advanced, sophisticated boss fight encounters, things like that would definitely be at the top of my list as well. But if I were going to pick a different answer, just to add flavor, from my vantage currently, it would be, I'd have to give the honor to the basically marrying the weather system and the way that we're going to be handling weather with the day-night system, with the water systems, and just having that dialed in a way that respects the various biomes in the game and the open world nature of the game. It's going to be, definitely some work to be done there, but obviously things we've already sussed out and have kind of a vision for. But that one is one of the things I'm most excited about in terms of the world creation and just the kind of the way it feels to be in the world. All those systems pumping together is going to be huge. But that's definitely at the top of my list for the way the question's phrased, the most challenging or the most time consuming on that front. But excited about it.
Yeah, good answers. It's really good. I can see the guys are excited in that too. hearing those that we're over that hump and moving forward to, you know, other bigger things. So it's, you know, not all downhill, but yeah, big portion of that behind us is going to be nothing but good. All right, so I think it's a pretty short answer here, but any plans to support cloud gaming?
No. Not that I know of.
Direct. So what are the team's current thoughts on coding any version of Trivial Loot code into the game?
That's not an approach that I'd like to take, and it's not currently planned. So leave it at that.
Great. Is there any form of raid scaling still on the to-do list? Like as in like raid bosses that scale up in difficulty based on the number of players that engage it, like a big world boss?
This is something that's on the list of potential things that we plan to try and test as we get into alpha and beta. It's one of several things that, you know, will ultimately result in a combination of different things to handle things like, you know, Zerg methods to trivialize certain encounters or content. And, you know, we've spoken a little bit about some of the things we're looking to pursue there. But this is something we want to try. There's, I think, an example or two where it's worked fairly well in other games that we've seen. There's several examples where it has not. And that's kind of true for most things. So it's also just part of a bigger tapestry of considerations with just how the game's content is engaged. And so it's a pretty meaty thing to break down and get into, but just confirming that it is still on the list of things for us to take a closer look at once we move into alpha.
Yeah, great. Can you give a few examples of the kind of smart leashing behavior we can expect to see in post-zone line terminus?
Yeah, that's a great question. So on a basic level, don't think of it as us employing a uniform leash distance across all NPCs. I think that's what people are expecting, that when we say no more zones, that, you know, NPCs are going to have a leashing mechanic now, that they're just, it's this assumption that every NPC will have a universal leashing distance and will kind of all behave the same way. Even among the exact same NPCs in the same spot, there's going to be that the most fundamental layer is that there will be some procedural variation, you know, range-based variation on how far an NPC will pursue a player. You know, in terms of actual meters. On top of that, the NPC type is also going to affect not only the distance that they can pursue. So something like, you know, a bandit chasing you on foot may not pursue you as far as a wolf, which may not pursue you as far as a rabid wolf, which may not pursue you as far as a wyvern, but also the speed. The speed of that pursuit will vary, and the likelihood that they will perhaps increase in number along the way will vary based on, you know, again, is it an NPC type that not only is it social in its aggro mechanisms, but is it the kind of NPC that would be able to call or communicate to other like-minded NPCs and bring them into the pursuit. Then additionally, on top of that, you're looking at traits and dispositions, adding yet another layer of variation on top of these fundamental behaviors. There could be a trait on an NPC, for example, that causes it to run faster and faster the longer it stays in pursuit. Or you could have an NPC that tires out more quickly as, let's say, a negative trait, for example, that it actually is easier to escape from because it grows tired more quickly. So, and then the final layer of differentiation is the ability layer, the ability arsenal that NPCs have. And we've already demonstrated in our combat awareness stream last year that our NPCs are capable of very sophisticated targeting logic based on a multitude of different factors. So NPCs will have an ability or an arsenal of abilities that they will switch to when they're in pursuit mode, if you will, in the same way that they already do that when they're dealing with a player that starts climbing. The NPCs are able to recognize this player is climbing, this player is running away from me, and I am pursuing it. They're able to recognize those things and then can smartly switch to and use different abilities in those situations. So it's kind of a breakdown of all the different layers that when we say, yes, NPCs are going to be leashing because we don't have these zone lines anymore, at least, throughout the overland. It's not to say that there's a universal leash distance. It's to say that there are going to be lots of layers of variation in how that behavior manifests.
That's a great explanation, mate. That's exciting. Good to see that variety and uniqueness to each mob and situation. Okay, so going back to our vinyl, this person, when they saw our network stack was named vinyl, they initially misread it as vinyl, as in like the record, and wondered if we were using another company's software development platform. What does our vinyl stand for? What does the acronym mean?
Visionary Realms Inc. Network Library.
Nice and simple. Nice and simple. No need for fancy stuff. Okay, speaking of, Kyle mentions that Network Stack is multi-threaded and that it efficiently schedules itself alongside Unity's own jobs that it schedules. Why is this aspect of the Network Stack so valuable?
Okay, so I thought about what to talk about here for a bit, and it can't avoid getting a little bit technical, I guess, and understanding kind of what multi-threading means in a video game and what lag is in a way.
That's fine.
So
man. Hit us with it.
All right. So a game generally has, depending on what kind of frame rate you're targeting, you have a fixed time budget that you're trying to fit everything into. Say like 120 FPS. You've got about 9 milliseconds total before you've dropped underneath that target frame rate already. And if you're fluctuating heavily around that, it's worse than just being locked at, say, 60 FPS and being nice and stable, because the fluctuation is noticeable as a player. So to get around some of that time boxing that you have in a single frame, you can multi-thread things and allow them to happen concurrently with what would be called the main thread of the game. So if you lag the main thread, that means that as a player, you feel that stall. That's when you say something is laggy or low frame rate, it means that the game is exceeding a fixed budget and it can't present itself to you fast enough. A lot of, especially older network libraries, specifically the one that Pantheon is using right now, is main thread bound, meaning that it's only using that main thread to do most of its network IO, input-output. So if the server is being pounded with lots of data, which it is when lots of you guys connect, it means that you can feel it as a player because it's happening on that main thread. It's stalling how fast we can deliver position updates, let's say, to you guys. And if that's being stalled, you see things skip around on your client. Even though you have a high frame rate, if our server is struggling, then you see the result of a laggy server in the presentation in your client. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, sure does, man.
All right,
I was included. So, the only addition would be I'd raise that 120 to 144 FPS if possible.
Sure. That's no problem. The benefit of let's see. So the question actually is asking, why is it important that we schedule our network IO with Unity's jobs? Because there's lots of stuff that's happening in Unity. Okay, let me back up a little bit more, actually. So Unity has these jobs, threads, multi-threaded processing. They're called job threads in Unity that you can push stuff onto, tasks, and they will happen off of that main thread. We've gone ahead and built our entire network library to operate exclusively in that job thread. So all that happens in the main thread is you create a stack allocated struct. So not a class, but a struct. So if you're into C#, you'll know what that means. If not, it's a really efficient memory allocation that happens in the fastest way that you can do a memory allocation in C#. Let's put it that way. You push that into a lockless queue, and that's the extent of what happens on the main thread. That's it. Everything else gets picked up in the job threads, in Unity's job system, in burst compiled jobs, and happens entirely off of the main thread. So that being said, we can schedule all of our jobs alongside stuff that Unity is already doing, like skinning or rendering or decal updates, or maybe some of the server-side stuff that would be going on, like multi-threaded updating positions. Those happen in those job queues, or in the job threads. So we can schedule our jobs right alongside them, and they happen concurrently with other stuff that has to happen anyway. So depending on the network load, our network jobs generally finish faster than other jobs that are running. So they become sort of free. They invisibly execute in other threads and don't bog down the main simulation thread. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
95% for me, but not all of us are Kilson, so.
No, man, I love this stuff. I'm not a programmer by any means, but just, listening to Cole just explain it.
I'm just messing with you.
Listening to Cole explain it like I'm 5, I have a much better understanding than if he just went off camera and started talking in technical speak, I'd be lost. No, but well done, man.
Good. So we can follow up a little bit more maybe in the post Q&A. I don't know if somebody has more follow-up questions on that.
Absolutely. And I know we've got programmers and that technically gifted in our community too, which do a great job of explaining it in more simpler terms for everyone. So that's really well done. Speaking on that, what is network IO and why is it important to keep that stable?
Sure. So you could think of it like, if I'm a player, network IO is all of the position updates. It's the easiest to think of it. That's the heaviest part, most likely, of a simulation going on, is all of the position update data that's coming in around you. All of the players moving around, the NPCs moving around, stuff being created, destroyed, that kind of stuff. The most heavy part is getting all of those positions sent to you efficiently. You can think of network IO as the incoming positions. That would be the input, the inbound data, and you sending your keystrokes and maybe the position and rotation of your player to the server. That would be the output or outbound IO. And keeping those stable means that we don't want batches or bursts of positions to arrive on a client all at once. We want to keep a nice steady trickle all the time of consistent, smooth position updates, so things aren't jumping around, just so things look better. Consistency is key there. Even if you're doing a step of smoothing out the positions, getting the raw updates as smooth as possible is vital to reduce the amount of smoothing that you actually have to do.
Yeah, well said. So going back to your video that you created showing the beans and the white squares to represent players and structures, when you factor in graphics, animations, and spells, will these all affect the performance of the network, or will it just be one of those things client side and the players' computers will be the ones to manage the load of those spells and animations and graphics bring?
Yeah, but most of it is client side. So there would be slightly more overhead in certain cases when, say, Adam adds a node that says create a VFX, and it's a certain ability that creates lots of extra effects and sounds and stuff like that. There would be a little bit more network load there, just with the server saying, make this here, destroy this there, play this there, that kind of thing. But the actual loading and playing of the audio and the particle systems and all that stuff is entirely client side.
Okay, so that's great.
Minimally more on the server.
Yeah, nice.
That being said, those tests that you're looking at are way, way more data than would ever be sent on a live server. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of megabits of data for a smallish area. So those are already stressing. It's already stressing the stack out way more than it would in a real life scenario. That way.
Someone picked up on that in the video chat, and it was actually explained really well, because a few people were a bit concerned about that, and the person was saying, well, that's like more than you will ever see in your lifetime on that game in one demo, which is really impressive. So yeah, good stuff.
And that also, I should mention, I don't know, you might notice like the time that I recorded that at. I did that all in one take, and after playing it back, for some reason the two DirectX capture windows were actually kind of jumpy, especially once I zoomed in and spawned a lot more things. I'm not sure why that was. maybe I can give a demo of it again later, but
cool.
In person, those are actually completely smooth. It was the OBS capture that made that weird. I don't know what it was.
Mate, that just goes to show that our game is performing so well that captures can't even keep up with it. I love it.
I guess.
On another very serious topic here, when will we see Dwarven beard designs progress? They can't stress how important this is.
I mean, beards of ice and stone take a while to fill out, so it's coming, but it needs to take its appropriate amount of time to fill out.
That's it. Perfection takes time. So realistic movement in MMORPGs can come across as cheesy or attempting to be realistic, like running, sitting, spellcasting, weapon hitting, etc. With the networking stack and Unity transition, has this affected current movement behavior and required adjustment with coding? Or is there anything unique VR is doing to set movement apart from other MMORPGs, subtle or extreme?
There really isn't anything specifically networking related that has, affected player movement or changed player movement in a way that we needed to do anything programming wise to fix or to adjust. That's the answer to the question right there. No, but what I do want to do here is just kind of brag on Kyle a little bit, because one of the very first conversations I had with him when he joined the team consisted of his passion for the animation side, kind of the animation controller, specifically regarding the player controller, player movement, and how important that was to him personally for that to feel right. And I think we can all relate to that. Your first time logging into a game, whether it's an MMO or an FPS or whatever it is, where you're manually moving a character around, it's one of the first things you're hit with is, does this feel right? Does this feel good? Do I enjoy moving around? And, it's very important to us. And what I love is that, the work that Kyle's already done on player movement, the player controller, he's already pushed it to a place of polish that I'm super proud of. I mean, my standards are very high for that specifically, player movement, and especially with all kind of the special traversal mechanics that we have in Pantheon, it needs to feel really robust and really responsive and really smooth. And so I think what we have, based on my impressions personally with the standard I know that I have, our internal feedback, and even a lot of the dedicated pre-alpha tester feedback we've gotten, is that the player controller and the movement in Pantheon is really top notch. So I think it'll resonate with a lot of players.
And there's actually some traversal stuff that nobody's seen yet either. Right. Not even
That's true, and that's gonna be a good day when we can reveal some of that.
Exciting stuff. Yeah, I can personally, obviously over the development cycle, I have noticed myself just being in game with testing phases and other things and just mucking around myself or getting screenshots or whatever. The movement has changed quite a lot and to me, feels like it's in a really good place right now. It feels very smooth, very natural, and it's enjoyable to run around any character.
There's definitely some specific stuff that we need to improve still. It's good, not great yet, I'd say. We've got some areas to improve on that I have notes on specifically that when I get time I'll definitely work on more. But it's
the
good.
Passion I'm talking about.
It's good.
That's the dedication to standard I'm talking about. Because I mean truly, like where we are right now, yes, like there are rough places. I mean, there are things that I experienced even just recently that I've taken a mental note, passed on. This, we do really need to get this addressed. But what I'm talking about is the fundamental, like meat and potatoes of movement. When you're not getting caught on a piece of geometry because this particular aspect of the player controller and the movement all working together, we need to iron out this spot and tweak this place, whatever it may be. The meat and potatoes, the fundamental experience of moving the player around in Pantheon is top notch. And what I've loved reading, because there's some iteration left to go there and some more polish ahead of it, but to read tester feedback and hear things like, I play a lot of different games. I've tested a lot of different games, and the way that this feels right now, even at this stage, is like far surpassing a lot of what's out there, even commercially right now. So, I mean, obviously that's going to be, heard by a lot of people as me kind of giving a very biased opinion, but I don't offer that up very easily or freely. I'm very critical by nature, and I'm really, really pleased with where we're at, even though there's polished stuff to come. So,
and that's what my comment meant too. Like I meant like being, for where we are now, late in pre-alpha compared to some other games that I play a lot too. Like, it's feeling great. we're in a really good place. If Kyle can improve on that even slightly, then I think that's going to be amazing. But yeah.
Well, I mean, remember, like Kyle, like what excites me about Kyle is that we talked about Kyle. Please, you can message me privately if I'm embarrassed you here by gushing on somebody's things. But I mean, the competitive level that Kyle plays certain MMOs at, there is a very, very strong sense and need for quality, responsive movement, and it's exciting to me to know that that's kind of what's guiding his discretion, his standards, because I know he's coming from a place of playing MMOs at a very high level of performance that requires very precise, responsive movement. So I'm just throwing that out there as an additional kind of seasoning for why it excites me to hear Kyle say things like it's still not where I want it to be yet. Because
a character controller's gotta it's gotta be perfect. If something feels, and I mean, even like World of Warcraft has its quirks. Like when you're walking off small ledges, sometimes you lose control of your character. Just little like blinking into non-existent geometry into the ground. Like there are aspects of even the best, considered what would be the best character controllers out there, that can be improved substantially still. So yeah, I've got that's awesome. My eyes set very high.
I love it. Okay, so sticking with Kyle, what got you interested in network code in the first place?
Quake engine video games.
Nice.
So I played a whole bunch of Quake 3 Team Arena and Jedi Knight, Outcast, and Academy, and Call of Duty 1, and I modded all of them extensively, mapping and scripting, and eventually it grew to the point where I wanted to make my own kinds of games. And if you're not modding a game, that means you have to implement your own networking. So that's kind of where that started, I guess. I wanted to play networked games that I made with other people, so I kind of got the itch that way. And also just playing a lot of MMOs. I have a knack, or like an urge to just make video games that are networked. I don't like single player games that much anymore. I'll play them for a little bit, but networking is what interests me in video games pretty much exclusively.
All right, so continuing on, did you learn your skills from college, or are you self-taught? And if self-taught, what are some resources you use to learn?
Well, coming from a modding background, a lot of it is self-taught. I did attend college for a game development degree. However, I dropped out when I got a job offer for a company up in Washington doing mobile development, which is, that was what I was in school for anyway. So I took that and ran. Never looked back.
Nice, man. Good opportunity presents itself. You got to grab it.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Yeah, nice, mate. So moving on to Chris, as a creative director and programming producer, is it required that you have programming knowledge, or is it more that you need to know what the game needs and can effectively tell that to Kyle and the programmers?
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's not required, because as lead programmer, I mean, ultimately the actual onus of being able to communicate to the programming team, on that level falls to Kyle. And that's, the conversations that I have, even though I'm very close with Rob, our senior programmer, and I do meetings with him quite often to discuss various things, but especially as we grow and scale, my primary touch point will be with Kyle. and with Rob as senior where appropriate. And my goal there is to communicate gameplay goals, gameplay intentions, how things are supposed to work, how they're supposed to feel, and break those down into digestible design points and design documentation. And then Kyle's, takes that and interprets those things into programmatical action points, and that are, best understood and broken down into points that can be executed by the programming team. So while absolutely I've picked up certain, knowledge over the years, and am much more comfortable, speaking about programming and, even looking at code on a screen and kind of understanding what's going on, it's definitely not the most effective way for me to communicate what's needed. I'll stick to the more creative, design-oriented explanations, and then work with Kyle to kind of break that out into programming goals.
Yeah, great, man. You can see that communication.
Adam actually crosses that. Oh, sorry. Adam crosses that boundary pretty well too. He dives into code a bit more. He's safe, actually.
Adam, with the ability tool, what Adam's been able to do is shoulder a lot of that, kind of understanding those like isolated bits of code that govern the different nodes that our ability system uses. And Adam is absolutely carries a large amount of that programming knowledge just from his past experience, and so he has been able to kind of step into that realm, which is as a designer that makes you really, really effective and dangerous and doing really good work, because when you can get in there and kind of and honestly, developmentally it's amazing too, because it has taken some of that burden off of Kyle to have to action everything directly. The more we're able to kind of imbue some of that design and programming in with our designers, like Adam's such a great example of, then that just helps us our development velocity all the more.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All I was going to say is just I can see that communication level with you guys, just within the team and also across the team, all departments. And I think it is, one of our strong points. We're not perfect, I don't think anybody is in communication, but we're at a high level because I think we're working remotely and having to get our messages across to each other at all times of day and night. I think we've kind of picked up that skill, and I can definitely see that communication within your department. So it's a credit to you guys.
Come on.
All right, so looking at how clients and players will connect to the servers, how do you see this process so that clients are connected in the most direct and secure way? Is that a VPN?
It is not. So all of our server to client connections are just raw UDP sockets with a token exchange to validate the connection. That's by far the best approach to a video game connection, is a custom design protocol for your game and a UDP socket connection, just blasting data over it.
Nice. So again, just going back to keeping it simple, not complicating things for the sake of it, and keeping everything secure.
Exactly.
So how many of the custom tools that we have written for creating things in the game, such as the class creation tool or the weathering effects tools that speed up development, are still in play for development, given all the major changes to the underlying code of the game?
All of them.
I don't think we've broken anything, have we? In the updates, the HDRP updates, or any of the networking changes that have been worked in so far. There's all of our tools still hold up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've had to do some touch-ups here and there, but
absolutely, yeah.
There's nothing that we've had to discontinue.
The way that Odin, our backend loads, the zones, for example, had to be ripped out and replaced with our streaming tech, which it now consumes the same data that client builds consume. So before, we actually had to build our backend tools every time that we patched the game, as well as building the game itself for you guys and the servers and all that stuff. Nowadays, we just build the client, and our backend tools consume the exact same data that the client builds. So we cut out a whole step of our build process there. It's nice.
Yeah, that's great. I only left that question in there too because I know we know the answer to that and we have said it before, but there was a bit of a misconception out in the wider community, not so much our community, but that because of the upgrades and the changes and the big things we've implemented that we'd have to now do all that stuff from scratch and it's going to take much longer, and I don't think they understand that it's hasn't changed much and in fact it's sped things up.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Content creation especially.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. That's a good call out. Thanks for clarifying that, because yeah, it's I've caught this a few times before with certain members of the community from time to time will point out this particular thing or that particular thing has kind of been left in collective limbo in terms of what perspective or what insight the community has on the ramifications of certain things like that. So yeah, anytime anything like that can be called out specifically, that's a great call.
Yeah, nice. I don't really think this is programming, but are our characters going to be tied to a specific server? I think we have said that we will be aligning our characters or accounts to a server. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So why are most games characters or games character server specific? And is it something like old school RuneScape where you can transfer servers easily as being the outlier? Like how hard is it to change characters between accounts? I think they're asking from a programming side of things.
I don't think it's ever really a technical limitation when people make the decision in an MMO to do one or the other. I think it's more community driven. If you look at, say, retail World of Warcraft, there's almost no sense of community. You don't really see the same people ever two times. You can ninja loot something and not really feel any ramifications because you leave the group and the chance that you'll see those 4 people again, unless you're playing with your friend or something like that, are next to zero. And that comes with having a community or a server that you play with exclusively. You become infamous on the server if you're, the most geared, the best player of a certain class. That just it's not possible to do, in my opinion, at least, without specific character tied servers.
I totally agree.
It's very much connected to the DNA of one of those like pillar tenets of socially driven gameplay, community driven gameplay. So it's you'll hear that same DNA voiced in every member of this team. It runs deep and something we're committed to for sure.
Absolutely. I think it has to, from a community point of view too, to have any kind of ramifications to your actions and stuff like that. It needs to be all on the same server. So you see Johnny Troll running around doing something bad or training somebody, well then that person's going to be less likely to get a group if they continue to cause trouble and annoy people, whereas somebody that is very helpful will be renowned for that and people will go to that person or help that person out when they're in need, and I love that. All right, so we are bang on time too. 1 minute to go. Last question, and I think this is probably the biggest one of all. Who's more of a nerd out of Kilson, Jopper, and Kyle? And if you claim all 3 are equal, you must explain why. I'll let you go first, CP.
So, in the same way that one does not knight oneself, neither do I believe one can nerd or unnerd oneself. So, because such things are only bestowed, I don't have a comment.
I kind of throws Cole under the bus for his answer, but
well, I mean, I was brought up modding Star Wars video games, so I mean, I'll take the nerd title.
Go for it, man. You gladly got it. I'm half nerd with my gaming and researching into loving programming, hearing Kyle and the guys talk about little back end stuff, love that stuff, and I'll take that half nerd side of me. But the other serve, I'm like a self-proclaimed cool guy, so I'll try and people laugh when I say that, but I'll just take that and eliminate myself from the comp so you guys can have it.
Gladly, I'll take it.
Well, that wraps it up. So thank you very much, gentlemen. As always, love having you on. Appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. I know the community really appreciates you coming on and talking about this stuff, answering their questions. So thank you both very much.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Always a pleasure. And thanks for all the questions. It's fun seeing all the questions come in each month. So thanks to the community.
But again, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate the support and coming out. It's been a huge turnout for this one, which has been fantastic. Love seeing all the chat fly by as we're talking, answering questions, having a laugh. We've got other staff in here too, having a chat with the VIPs. So if anybody is interested, you can go to pantheonmmo.com and check out our pledges. The VIP rank will get you into these dev roundtables live, so you can ask your questions and be part of the chat. Thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, folks.
Very good.
Just to see what's coming out, what's going to be the next big deal and all that. The new amazing technology that everyone needs to embrace in gaming looks like this. Ateron.game, as you can tell, looks like an amazing project. Collect NFTs, Frostbite and Hellbreaker, partners in technology. I wonder which ones of these are partners and which are just technology, because I doubt very much you partnered with Binance Smart Chain, MetaMask, Unreal Engine. I don't know who Visual Studio is, to be honest, or Nomics, or is that Nebula? Yeah, Nebula. Ateron is an MMORPG where anyone can earn NFTs and tokens through skilled gameplay, crafting, and staking on the ecosystem. And they have a white paper, and they do have some gameplay, which is exactly why I'm covering it, because I love to see gameplay of these things. They have their official announcement trailer. Let's go over this one. It seems like I've missed this. It's not been on my radar. Full screen, please. There we go. Oh man, it looks like every other indie MMO ever made. It's the same graphics, presumably because they're all the same asset packs. This is me from the future, guys, just coming to tell you that I didn't really pay that much attention while I was watching the start of this trailer. And then in editing, I came back to it and I was like, oh, okay, they've literally just copied Stormwind 1-to-1. They've just got some pre-made assets and made Stormwind as close as they can. And then they're just like, oh, this is our game. It's totally not World of Warcraft, guys. Definitely buy our stuff because this is totally original and brand new. And this is probably one of the most shameless things I've seen a cryptocurrency project do. And that's really saying something, considering I've seen them steal music from people, buy a book worth $30,000 for $3-point-something million, use NFTs of dead people like Etika Punks and claim that they're selling images of people who committed suicide, you know, beloved YouTubers, and of course having Stanley resurrected come back from the grave and shill some NFTs. And who can forget selling JPEGs of whatever planet they choose? And the very best, of course, Cryptoland selling real plots of land for over $1 million on an island they don't own. There's also been things like private servers where they're just literally taking games like Ragnarok Online or even Minecraft and selling NFTs and rug pulling those. So it's graduated now. They're not just selling ugly pictures of apes, they're copying real games like World of Warcraft. And apparently this is the great future of blockchain technology. Just amazing. I don't like how all of these games, the first thing they tell you, the absolute first thing they tell you is, you heard about these fucking NFTs, bro? Why can't you tell us about the actual game first? Like, why is it always... Well, I don't know why I'm asking. It's obviously a rhetorical question. I know exactly why that is. Because they don't give a fuck about the game. They care about getting people to buy into this idea. And the idea is, oh, bro, did you know you can get NFTs in this game? And then, you know, maybe in a year's time, you'll be fucking rich, bro. If you heard about this shit, bro, you could be rich in a year just by playing a game. That's crazy. But you're not actually playing a game. You're just buying stuff in a fucking game. Are we even calling them games? A lot of these like NFT play to earn, you know, games that I've played. I've said this a million times. It's like something that's worse than what you'd play in IT class in the computer room, whatever you want to call it, where you're from. You're playing like slime soccer and mini clip and shit like that. When you're supposed to be learning, it says a lot about me and how I am nowadays. But they're like those games, but worse in terms of how many features there are. And then you've got people dropping thousands and thousands of dollars to just buy shit in there so that they can walk around. I mean, to be fair, we do have shit like BDO in the real gaming, so I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm just talking around in circles about the fact that pay to win in some of these games is just as bad as this shit. Oh wow, it's like an umbrella. Explore vast environments. Oh look, it's literally the fucking farms that you quest in Elwyn Forest. Identically. That's the same barn, just with a higher texture. The same field with the pigs. Shameless. Shameless. It's even the same bridges. It's oh god, they've just ripped off WoW. They've just ripped off WoW. Then again, with how shit WoW is at the moment, maybe they'll do a better job. Those textures look amazing. Choose your class. Wow, it's crazy. Epic dungeons and raids. How much do those cost? Are these NFTs as well? That's good. You can't even really see their logo on my monitor. I don't know if it's my my settings. They have another one, NFT MMORPG gameplay teaser video. So that was just, you know, that was teasing the tip. You know, that was playing with the shaft. But here we go. This is going to be the actual gameplay teaser. So this is how you play the game. Oh look, it's a MetaMask icon. The first thing they clicked in the video was to show you that you can spend money on it. I've seen these UI elements in packs before on the Unreal Store. And it literally does just look like somebody said to them, "Have you played WoW?" I said, yeah, I've played WoW before. All right, make that, but entirely with Unreal Engine Store assets. Which I'm not saying, by the way, because people always get this one twisted. I'm not saying using assets makes your game like a scam or anything. That's what they're there for. But when you're not really showing anything original yourself, like you're showing setups and assets that look like you're playing WoW, but made by vastly less people with worse monetization, which, let's be real, it's kind of hard to have worse monetization than WoW in 2022, to be fair. Then when you're using all assets, that's when it becomes a problem, right? This is fucking riveting so far. Shall I start doing backflips or something so this video is more entertaining?
Wow.
Here we go. Frostbolt. Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. Alright, let's fucking skip through this. And you've got a fireball, cool. What else have you got? I mean, to be fair, you know, I'm joking a lot through this video, but they have more than pretty much all the other NFT MMOs we've seen so far. They've actually shown off more. So as much shit as I want to talk, like, if I do want to be as impartial, I guess, as I possibly can, so far they've got more than what we've seen from the other NFT MMOs. So while I do think it's a stupid idea to the first thing you're doing is advertising the NFT aspects of it, at least they've got something. It might just be a bunch of assets slapped together, but they've got something. Like, cool, I guess. Probably not going to be setting the world on fire.
Yay, there it goes.
But realistically, none of these NFT games are. Because the vast majority of people who play MMOs are just going to play an MMO, and the vast majority of the people that are going to play like play-to-earn games are going to play the ones that just earn them the most money. That's the real disconnect between this idea of like an indie play-to-earn MMO. We can't even make indie MMOs full stop, let alone one where you're basically requiring people to spend a shitload of money to play them, or be severely punished for doing so. Because while we're watching